Welcome back to Whatever We Want. This episode, we are covering Forrest Gump.
Whoa! What all did we go over, Jake?
We are going to go over all the stuff, the visual effects that was crazy for the year this came out in 1994, the characters and how they change around Forrest, and how Forrest, the protagonist, doesn't really change, which is strange for a movie. All that and more in this episode. Spoiler warning, you have been warned.
If you haven't seen Forrest Gump, please do. It's been out since like 1994. I guess this is the intro to our pre-banter. So what?
This is the intro. I'm plugging my phone in.
Listen, we don't have time for you to plug your phone in.
Pre-banter.
We just don't have time.
Welcome. All right, we're in the podcast, I guess. I was not prepared for this.
I know you weren't. That's why I was like, ooh, let me just hit him with
I
it.
feel like you somehow knew I was like leaning down to plug my phone in, and then you were like, oh, I'll start it.
I could hear like your chair like squeak.
Like roll out.
I didn't know if it was like forward or back.
Roll out. I'll go forward like into my mic.
I mean, I tried to squeak, but I'm like, wait, this is like a wooden chair. It's not really good for that.
Just like fall. You just like knock your chair over. Seriously injure yourself.
It's fine.
Oh my gosh. Okay, pre-banter. What do you want to talk about? Quick pre-banter. I have something to talk about if you don't mind.
No, you go ahead.
So right before we sat down, I got in this Discord call. I was like, I need to use the bathroom, so I ran upstairs to use the bathroom and fill up my water. And I came out to the most heart-wrenching scene in all of the Star Wars movies. Do you know what it was?
Are we including the sequels?
It wasn't in the sequels. I'll give you that.
I know it wasn't, but I was gonna make a meme about like when Kylo has his shirt off, because that's pretty heart-wrenching. I'm telling you right now.
Oh yes, that was. What do you think it is? the one I'm actually talking about.
You are my brother, Anakin. I loved you, or something like that.
No, even worse than that. It was when the Ewok brother died, and the other Ewok was trying to get him up.
Oh yeah! Oh no!
I walked up right as that happened.
See, that's so heart-wrenching. I put it out of my mind.
I know. I'm sorry I had to bring that back.
Man.
On that heart-wrenching note, are you ready for the intro?
Well, actually, let me say one more thing quick before we actually get into it, okay?
Got it.
Some of you may know I've been going to school for game design, 3D modeling, all that kind of jazz. And I recently just posted something on Sketchfab, which is the site where I post a lot of my art stuff. And it was actually staff picked. And gotta say, I'm like infinitely grateful. I've been trying to get one of my pieces staff picked for like 4 years now. So,
yeah, it's really good.
Thanks,
check it out. I'm gonna leave. I've always had the link to your Sketchfab in the description, but check that out. It's really cool. It's a bust of a character. I'm not gonna give anything else away because I want you to check it out to find out for yourself.
Yeah. Also, it just reached 1,000 views on Sketchfab.
Whoa!
Like it literally just said it's only been up for like a couple of days, so that's
wow.
Freaking yeah.
But anyways, you ready for the intro?
Yeah, hit me with it.
You may want us to talk about this or that, but we don't care. We're gonna talk about whatever we want. Blah. Welcome back to Whatever We Want, Daniel, the podcast where we, Jake and Daniel, two devilishly handsome gentlemen, talk about movies, giving behind-the-scenes insights and our thoughts about the filmmaking processes that go into them. We're back, episode 25.
Each podcast is like a box of chocolates. You're never gonna know which movie you're gonna get.
Why would you say that? That's such an obscure quote, Daniel. Why would you mention that?
Oh, it's almost like it's from a movie that we're gonna be talking about today. You know.
That's right.
Not the exact quote. He didn't say that, but something along those lines.
No, he said about podcasting. But yeah, we're talking about Forrest Gump. We're taking a break from the MCU Phase 1. We'll be back. Don't worry. We definitely want to cover all those. But we're getting into Forrest Gump. I'm pretty freaking excited.
Dude, this was like the first time I've actually, like, I've seen it all the way through multiple times, you know, like growing up, whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know, like it was when I was younger and never really, like, understood a lot of the higher concepts and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, he's at war. I didn't know, like, like, understand, like, all the points of, like, oh, it's Vietnam. You have all these different political points and, like, you know, like, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All the stuff that Jenny was getting into. You're like, oh, man, Jenny. Oh, she's finally with him. And then back then you didn't think about, like, oh, man, all the crap that she, like, did, you know? Yeah. And, like, mental struggles she was going through.
It's a lot.
Which we'll get into, but
yeah,
I just want to bring up a point about like the different perspective of like seeing it back when we were little versus like now actually being able to fully, you know, look back and understand it.
Right. I want to do patron shout-outs up top really quick just so I don't forget. So cue the Star Wars music. We've got patron Lori, patron Frank, patron Tony, patron Rick. Thank you for pledging the tier that gets you this shout out. Thank you to these patrons. You guys actually voted on what we're covering this week and in the next episode. So if you want to have an impact on what we talk about, consider supporting some Patreon. You get some cool perks.
Yeah, do it.
Baboosh. All right. Are you ready to get into Forrest Gump, my friend?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to do a ARoSW.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to do a ARoSW because I always forget. I'm not going to forget this time. ARoSW sound clip.
Did you ever see Return of the Jedi.
Bam, cool sound clip. Also, I think I put an extra thing in the end of last episode, but the ARoSW stands for a review of sick works, like sick media works, so we can keep the acronym and everything.
I feel like we need to have that on like do you put that in the text? I don't really check like the bios and stuff.
I think I do, but like people don't usually read that. Also, there's the time codes are in the description, so if you want to jump ahead in the sound of our voices to a certain thing, then feel free to do that.
Word.
All right, Forrest Gump. This came out in 1994.
Yep.
It was not expected to do well at all. It like was pitched a long time ago, like when the book came out. Like Forrest Gump was originally a book, and a producer got a hold of it and was like, wow, this would be a really good story. And then it kind of went through development, torture, kept getting pushed back, and then another film came out. I think it was called Rain Man, and it was another film about like a mentally challenged person. So everyone was like, oh, we don't want to see another film on that. People don't want to see another film on that. So it got pushed back. Then Tom Hanks, he's been interested in, same with Robert Zemeckis, who directed it. And Warner Bros. Was like, we don't really want this. And they gave it to Paramount to look at. Tom Hanks went in and pitched it, kind of doing impressions and voices and stuff, kind of showing what the story would be. And they loved it. And then they were like, all right, you got the go ahead. Let's make this movie. And that's kind of how it came into be.
That's funny. I never knew I had like that much struggle just getting started off.
Yeah. And it's crazy. Just, I mean, like 2020 hindsight, but like this is regarded as one of the best movies of all time. Like it's on the IMDb top 100 list, I'm pretty sure. And a bunch of other lists is like some of the greatest movies of all time. It did very financially well for the time. It had a budget of $55 million and it grossed $677 million.
Jeez.
But it was only the second highest grossing film of 1994 because that's the same year The Lion King came out, and that like sweeped everything.
Yeah.
And I was actually surprised when I was doing the research for this. I wasn't expecting to like have to watch any like director's commentaries. I was a little upset because that's where I get a lot of information, but I was also kind of like, oh, thank goodness I've watched so many of these. But then I literally found on my shelf that we apparently bought the 25th anniversary like special edition Blu-ray of Forrest Gump. They recorded like last year for it, like new director's commentary for it. So this is like stuff that you couldn't have heard until last year. So I did end up watching director's commentary on it.
Oh, so yeah, that's pretty recent, dude. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and also the director, like, I don't know if you know, have you heard of Robert Zemeckis before? He's kind of a big director. He's done a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
He's done Back to the Future, like he directed the entire trilogy of that. Mm-hmm. He directed Castaway later in 2000, again with Tom Hanks. And then he also directed Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is like the one that's known for having the like cartoons mixed in with the real life.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool techniques that went into that.
Yeah.
We could talk about later if we ever go over that.
They actually they have a sequel like in production apparently, because I was on his IMDb page kind of looking up what he did, and it was like Robert Who Framed Roger Rabbit 2.
There you go.
Pre-production.
Framed.
But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. I don't know when that's scheduled to come out. And actually, Robert Zemeckis thinks that I don't know if this was a joke or not, but there was like a panel in 2009 at USC where it's like his alma mater, and he was talking about Forrest Gump on like a panel, and he said that in the original like draft of the script, Forrest Gump was supposed to be followed around and like talked to by like an imaginary like cartoon Curious George, and that's why like he has the book.
Huh? Is that what it was like in the book, like the actual book of Forrest Gump, or was it?
I don't think so. Like the book, so the guy who wrote the book, it was actually also really difficult to get the book adapted to a screenplay. The guy who wrote the book, they contacted him first. They're like, can you write a screenplay? And he wrote a screenplay, and they were like, this isn't, they kept asking for revisions and stuff because it's very different writing a book compared to like a movie script. It's like very, very different. And this guy was kind of sticking too close to the book for everyone's likings kind of thing.
Yeah.
Understandable. Like it's your thing and you think people like it, like, and people do enjoy your book. Obviously they're making a movie out of it, so like why would you want to change that much? And they went through like tons of writers, like more than most movies, and then this last guy they like really liked.
I'm assuming he was the one that came up with the concept of like him telling his own story.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. And actually I'll talk about it later, but the author wrote a sequel book to Forrest Gump after the movie came out, and it gets like really meta about like the movie Forrest Gump came out in like the Forrest Gump book world, and like Forrest Gump watched it. It's weird.
Yeah, well, like you're watching a movie about a book that you're in right now.
Yeah.
So does that mean that the Forrest Gump book also exists in the book world?
I don't know. It's But yeah, so
Anywho.
we start with a feather falling from the sky. The opening credits. You don't see a lot of like long opening credits like this in movies nowadays.
Nah, which honestly, like, it adds to like the sentimentalness to like the old movies like this.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't really even that old. It's 1990s, but you know, it's a lot different than like how they do it now. So it's
I
like,
feel like people's attention spans are shorter.
yeah. Well, I feel like if they did something like this now, it'd be like a cool. It'd almost be like a characteristic or like stylization choice now,
Right.
As compared to like how it was before. It was just like, oh yeah, we're just going to have this in the beginning.
You just did it. Yeah.
Within the sequence.
I
Yeah.
also just feel like people's attention spans, I think that maybe why they've moved away from that is people's attention spans like are shorter. Like even I was looking at YouTube stuff, and we obviously run a channel. Check it out, Blue Butter Bagels on YouTube if you want. But back in the day when YouTube started in like 2005, people could do these huge long intros and people would enjoy watching them because it was new. And now everyone does that. So like you really just need to get straight to the content and have an intro kind of thing that hooks people and then kind of tells them what's coming really quick and then get to the content. Can't have long intros, which this was, which I didn't really mind. Like, I mean, I just love this film, so.
No, I think in this case it also helped out a lot because it's like for a lot of it's for what like 75% of it it's like flashback, you know?
Yeah.
Up until the point to where it changes to the point where it's modern day and then
which
like,
is such a strange structure for a movie. I've talked about before the 3-act structure, like how that's kind of common, and this didn't really follow a typical 3-act structure. The first 2 acts of the movie were literally like a flashback, which is often like a big no-no in the Hollywood world, but like this just really worked this way.
Because of that flashback being the majority of the film itself.
Yeah.
Because we have that longer intro scene now, it helps to also reinforce and set up the
present.
The setting of where we're going to be leading to.
Right.
Yeah, with where the present is at. Always liked how like when you got to like the end or to like a specific point on like one of the flashbacks, you always cut back to him. And then maybe he was talking to the same person, maybe there's somebody else there, but he's still just telling a story.
Right.
You know?
That was actually interesting how they filmed that. So obviously like the narration that comes over top of everything is supposed to be like him sitting on that bench, and what people would normally do probably in a film, and they almost they like Tom Hanks thought they would do, he thought they would like film just the lines that he would be on screen for, like on the bench, and then go to like a studio booth and like record his lines like literally like we are right now, like in front of a microphone kind of thing. But Robert Zemeckis wanted the performance to feel real and not kind of like you're sitting in a studio more, so they literally spent like 2 or 3 days on that bench and filmed the entire narration just on the bench with like camera angles for each thing. So that also gave them options to edit, so like if they wanted to cut to Forrest, they would have every single line, which I thought was very interesting.
That's a pretty smart way to go.
Yeah, definitely more work, but good payoff in the end.
Yeah, gives you more options.
Yeah, but that feather, people kind of wonder like, what is that about? It's kind of, I think the screenwriter and the director kind of said it's sort of like a metaphor. It's kind of about like destiny, which comes to fruition again with Lieutenant Dan and his mom, and kind of represents Forrest's destiny as it's kind of like floating along, and literally the wind could take it any way, and then it could land anywhere.
But it still lands anywhere.
Right.
Like right there where Forrest is.
Right.
Yeah.
It's also a good way to start and bookend the film. The film actually wasn't supposed to end with the feather, but someone was like, that'd be a good full circle kind of thing.
I think it was a good call to do that.
Yeah.
Especially not only that, but also like the handing down of the Curious Georgia book, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was a good idea with that.
Yeah. So we're on the bench, he's talking, then he flashes back to his childhood.
He got bad legs.
He doesn't have bad legs.
He actually has a
bad back.
Because it's shaped like a question mark.
Yeah.
As Mama says. What does he say? He says that those are his magic shoes because they actually allow him to like actually walk and stuff like that. Because there's extra braces on.
So that actor actually, I think his name was Michael Humphreys.
Yep.
And he wasn't like an actor. He was just a kid from Mississippi who saw an open casting call, and they were actually getting nervous. They weren't going to find a good Forrest kid. And he came in and they really liked his performance. And Bob Zemeckis, he came up to Tom Hanks and was like, all right, you need to instruct this kid on how you want to talk so that like he can mimic you for your voice for your character that you've decided when you're older. And Tom Hanks was not having trouble, but just hadn't really nailed down a voice yet. And he went and listened to this kid, and the kid literally just spoke the way that Forrest speaks. Like, and he like had the hard G's at the end of things like, I'm making some toast. I don't know, like whatever he says in the film. But Tom Hanks really liked it. So, and Tom Hanks felt like he's the actor, so he should mimic what the kid's doing. And it just worked really well for the character. So that's how the voice of Forrest kind of came about.
That's cool. I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
But it does make sense. I think it was a good call on Tom to do that because it's like you definitely want to keep that like actual, you know, sense of like where the kid's from.
Right.
So.
And it did take place in the South, so it made sense.
How old was the kid? Do you know?
He was 8 at the time, and he's now probably like 30s or 40s maybe.
That's weird to think about.
He's gone on and he's served in the military in Iraq.
Now he's living like modern day Forrest Gump.
Yeah. This is just a cycle. They're gonna make a movie about him, and then a kid will play younger him, and then go on. Time loop, just like Back to the Future. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but then we get the line. Mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. That's number 40 on the like highest like movie
Like
quotes
quoted, yeah.
of all time or something like that on some official list. I don't know.
What would be number 1? I have the high ground.
No, hello there.
Honestly, true, because people say hello there like all the time.
Yeah.
Like, whether they mean them to say it or not, it's technically a quote.
Probably something like I'm walking here, or I don't know. No, maybe not. Let me look it up quick. This list is after 100 years, so it's like because these old films came out a while, they've had like longer time. I think like the first one's from Gone with the Wind. It's frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. I don't say that, but also I'm like young, so maybe older people will.
I know I don't say that. You walk into class one day and your professor's like, you're late, and then you're just like, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
And he just like gives me an A because I'm like in film class. He's like, how do you know that? Oh, it's number 1. I just looked at another list and it's number 1 on there too. Maybe I should start saying that more. I know this one though. Number 11 is I Am Your Father. Number 12 is Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Here's Looking at You, Kid from Casablanca. I have seen that. May the Force Be With You is number 4. Nice. You're gonna need a bigger boat is 3. All right. We got to Back to the Tank. Back to the Tank.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
I could just keep looking at. What if you just for the rest of the episode just look at movie quotes?
This episode just shifts, like the actual title, like as you're starting to watch it, like changes.
Yeah.
Or listening, not watching. You always say watching, like it's. Some
I
kind
know.
of, like people are watching the audio waves, like we are right now, of like the Audacity file being recorded.
All right, back to the tank. We back to the tank, then back to the tank. Back to the tank. Also, but this set, like the 60s and 50s, whenever Forrest is young, like those sets, that was based on like a Norman Rockwell illustration. Apparently, I don't know. Maybe some of our viewers who are a little older than me will appreciate that. My dad like was watching some of the behind the scenes stuff with me, and he was like, "Oh, that's interesting," and I was like, "Okay, I'm writing that down." Sure.
You're like, oh yeah, Dad, I agree. That's totally interesting.
I looked at the illustrations like online. They do look like the doctor's office kind of thing, like very similar. Anyway, so we also see his mom for the first time, Sally Field. That's Forrest's mom. She's actually, the actress is only 10 years older than Tom Hanks in real life.
I thought you were about to say older than the kid.
No,
like, there's no way she's 18.
But it's actually a little weird. Not weird, but like Tom Hanks and Sally Field apparently in like a film from like a few years ago in 1988, they played like a romantic couple, a film called Punchline. Now they're like mother-daughter, not mother-daughter, mother-son.
Mother-daughter. Yeah, well, let's just get past that. So Forrest has leg braces to help straighten out his spine.
Yeah.
Was there anything special about like the prop for like the braces?
There's something a little later when he breaks out of them, but I'll mention it then.
That's what I was gonna ask about that.
Well, I'll just say it now then.
Yeah.
So like when he breaks out of the props, they actually like had they had to put off mini explosives in them so they would break off like and fly up in the air like they did. And the young kid was actually like a little nervous about that. And so they made like 2 pairs, one to show him like what would happen and the second one to actually like do the stunt with. And then like the look of like excitement and like, when he looks up and smiles.
Yeah.
The director said he thinks he was smiling because like he was just happy his legs weren't just blown off.
My legs are still there. I could still run.
That would be a very different movie if just like his legs exploded and he just fell down. He becomes early Lieutenant Dan. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we shouldn't really be laughing about that, but it didn't happen, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, we shouldn't be.
Okay,
man.
all right.
I feel like there'd be an easier way to do that, though. Like, wouldn't it, like, if you did, like, knots, and, like I know there's a certain type of knot you could do where you can, like, if you pull on it, it will actually untie itself.
Who would pull on it?
Well, I'm saying
you have to paint that out. And it's 1994.
That's true.
They did paint some stuff out though, like the Bubba thing. Like when Forrest is carrying Bubba out of the battlefield, like way later in the movie, there was a crane helping alleviate some of the weight of Bubba from Tom Hanks, so he could run faster. And they painted that out. But anyways, Tom Hanks is talking on the bench. Speaking of Tom Hanks again, so he just does, his performance in this is incredible. Like I can't. Do you have anything to comment about his performance? Like, it's just so good.
I mean, it's hard to explain, like, how, like, he obviously put, like, a lot of, like, time and research into, like, thinking about how to illustrate a person that has that type of IQ. What was his IQ, like, 75?
Yeah.
That's something that's very difficult to do. To try to not only, like, demonstrate a different, like, personality, but a different level of intelligence.
Right.
So that's...
Yeah, you don't have much experience to, like, pull from.
I mean, kudos to that. That's I agree with you. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Like, you genuinely believe, like, the character is at that level.
He probably read the book, but actually, Robert Zemeckis has never read the book, like, to this day, of Forrest Gump. He liked the screenplay adaptation.
Wait, really?
Like, just went off of that, yeah. Well, some other people that were in consideration for Forrest Gump, it's hard to, like, look back and like, consider this because, like, you just think Forrest Gump is Tom Hanks. Like, Tom Hanks is Forrest Gump. That's, like, all the marketing they put into, like, the covers of the DVDs and everything. But Bill Murray was turned down the role. John Travolta turned down the role. And Chevy Chase also turned down the role. And I can't picture... John Travolta has come out and said, like, that was one of his biggest regrets and mistakes, he feels like. But I just couldn't imagine John Travolta as Forrest Gump.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine doing that. That'd be weird. I could see Bill doing it.
Really, yeah.
Potentially. He had that wide range. You can't have anybody else other than Tom.
Yeah.
You know.
Tom, my boy. Hanks. He signs off all of his Instagram posts with HANX. Like Hanks.
Do you use that instead of like saying thanks? Or is it
No, he's signing it off. Like, he signs every like Instagram post. Like, I don't know what he posts on Instagram really. I haven't really seen, but it's like, oh, we're filming a movie in like Australia. Hope you like it when it comes out. And then like dash Hanks. Like HANX. It's just something I haven't really seen on Instagram.
He's polite. He's a polite boy.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't know what else to say about that.
And that's all I have to say about that. That's a good way to segue. We don't have anything else to talk about, at least for this episode. But anyway, so we see Forrest's house for the first time. And so they actually built this house for this movie, like this huge, like southern...
Wait, they built it?
Yeah. Like apparently there was a house on that property, which was a beautiful property. And then it like burned down years before this movie was even talked about, and no one had like rebuilt the house, so the film came on and rebuilt a house. Apparently my mom said that she saw that like it was not up to code and it was built very hastily to get it done fast, but I don't know, looked like a good house to me.
I mean, if you want to be technical here, you know, civil codes between like structural house differences and stuff like that change all the time, so like you might be in code this time, but like say 5-10 years you're gonna be out of code because like there's gonna be changes.
And maybe like because it was like supposed to be like an old southern house, maybe that's good that it wasn't up to code.
Exactly.
Let's just say it's intentional. Actually, this also showed Bob Zemeckis. He said that he really liked working on this project because the people that were on this project were very committed and knew the movie that they were all trying to make. They're all working to make the same movie. And they said that, for example, when they were plotting out months in advance for this house to be built, they went to the location and they brought the cameraman. And often, if you have like a bad cameraman, he'll just show up and be like, all right, where do you want me to point this camera kind of thing. But this cameraman understood lighting and what would happen and everything. And so he was like, when are we shooting in this location? And he was like, all right, probably mid-April and then end of September. And so like he did some like math with the stars and everything, I don't know, and he was like, all right, the sun's probably gonna be like here. And he was like, where are you gonna build it? And he showed him, he was like, you probably want to turn it 20 degrees to the right to catch the sun in a great way. And so they did, and like that's just such small like attention and crazy forward thinking that like sets it apart, I think.
That's really good cameraman.
Yeah.
Usually, like, aren't there like other people that are dedicated for that now in like film, like specialists just for like lighting it, like, or is this? I mean, or is it different back then? Or
I definitely think, I mean, there was obviously lighting specialists and stuff, but like I don't know if they were on set like however far in advance they were building this house kind of thing. And I think I don't know. I think the cameraman just also in film, like obviously you're an expert at something, but like all other aspects of the production affect you. So that cameraman, that showed that he like understood the other aspects and how that was going to affect him kind of thing.
Yeah, true. That's like some real dedication there. Imagine if like they put down the foundation of the house and then he said
that would stink. It's like, well, oh well. But anyway, so we learned how Forrest got his name because he had an ancestor who
started the KKK.
Yeah. And you know how they did that shot? Like, well, this is the first like putting Forrest in like historical footage. What they did, they only had Forrest on a horse, and they didn't really have that footage from the KKK. They actually took the footage from a film called Birth of a Nation, which like was a hugely impactful film. I forget, it was like the 20s or even I don't know when that came out. So they took literally a scene from another film and put Forrest like in there kind of thing. There's actually tire marks on the left side because the Birth of a Nation people like didn't get those out of the way, which obviously like back when the Civil War was happening, like there would not be tire marks.
I didn't even notice that.
They saw that in the 90s when they were making this Forrest Gump film. They were like, we could have removed them, but we were like, do we want to tamper with this like historical film? So they decided ultimately not to, which like it doesn't really detract anything from it, I don't think, unless you're like looking for that.
No, at all. Like I said, I didn't even notice them. So That's cool.
Yeah.
But no, it's a really interesting way to start setting up the character with like how he got his name and like the way that his mom thinks and like how she's like you really get Forrest starting off not only by him and like how his character is, but also by like how his mother is and how she cares for him.
Yes, that was something the director very intentionally, like when he was casting, looked out for, because he knew like he had to cast someone as Forrest's mom that like could carry the film until Tom Hanks came in as Forrest, and she does a great job of understanding like exactly what you said. Her performance showing what Forrest
will be like his character will develop into.
Yeah, how she raised him and everything. So we get the scene where we see that Forrest's IQ is like 75, like you said, and his mom has to sleep with the principal or whatever, superintendent.
His response is priceless.
the wheezing. Oh my gosh.
The principal's just trying to be smart and all that to a freaking 75 IQ. I guess that's what you want to do. You can, but then for 75 IQ responding like that, like it's pretty good.
The thing that, well, in the director's commentary, they said there's nothing that Forrest does in the movie that's like stupid.
No, not at all.
Well, to a point, because at one point he does jump off his moving boat, which is not the smartest thing.
Well, okay, yeah. But keep in mind, that's like very, like, that's almost like to the point of like nitpicky, because you're saying, okay, this one thing was like where he was actually stupid, you know?
Yeah, which like speaks to his character, like stupid is what stupid does, and like he doesn't really do anything that stupid, like in the film. It's just people treat him differently, which is kind of the point in the theme. There's so many themes in this film.
So many morals, so many lessons.
Yeah. In the behind the scenes with Michael Humphreys, there was behind the scenes footage from the 90s of like Tom Hanks hanging out with him to like kind of just listen to his voice to try to mimic it. And he's talking to him. He's like, "What's your favorite movie, Michael?" And the kid, Michael's like, "You want me to answer like truthfully?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, definitely, like what you told me." And he was like, "Well, it's not anything you've been in." Like I was like, "What? You're talking to Tom Hanks?" And then he was like Jurassic Park. But I was like, "Dude."
Like this is like you could just say, "Oh yeah, Jurassic Park," you know? You could just say that. Yeah. That's completely fine. Not anything you've been in. Hold it down, kid. Jeez.
So the next part where like we meet everyone in Forrest's small house and like Elvis comes in and stuff. They actually like knew that Kurt Russell a few years ago had worked on a film and like impersonated Elvis, and they really liked his voice. So the Elvis scene when
they're in the bedroom.
In the bedroom, yeah. The voice for Elvis was actually done by Kurt Russell.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, kind of like the whole Darth Maul thing, like in Solo, where someone plays the body and someone else is the voice.
That was also Kurt Russell.
Elvis is Darth Maul confirmed? Question mark.
He's the crime king.
Oh!
All right, let's get back to the tank.
It all makes sense. All right, so he meets Dorothy Harris, the bus driver. Nice little setup for the end. All the seats are taken, which is so mean. I hate that part. Seats taken.
I mean, you know how my parents were when I was growing up. I never took the bus. It's like I never really experienced that.
It's not like that usually.
Yeah, usually just sit down, I figured.
The director said that like it was his, like he had his niece and nephew in that scene, and the producers, like kids were in that scene. Like they all had the speaking lines. They were the bullies. And I was like, geez, like I'm sure your kids are usually nice, but they were
mean,
good at acting like a bully.
No, it's because they actually are mean.
Yeah.
And they're like, how old? Like 30 now again? So they're just stay that way until they hit, you know, a moral point like Forrest does later on, where he sees his lieutenant without legs.
Lieutenant Dan.
Or maybe they're the ones without legs. I don't know. That's pretty humbling.
Wow. Let's move on to Jenny.
Yeah, so he finds Jenny
for the first time.
Well, she offers him a seat. That's how it starts off.
All right, I need to pause for a quick story time, Daniel. So I'm pretty sure I've told you this before, and I definitely told some people before, but I would watch Forrest Gump a lot because I considered it one of like probably my favorite movie like of all time, and I would watch it all the time at my grandparents' house because my grandparents had a treadmill, so in the winter I'd go up there to train for like cross country and stuff. So I would put on Forrest Gump.
You're watching Forrest Gump run as you're running on the treadmill in the middle of winter.
I know, it's inspiring. No, but I at this part when he meets Jenny for the first time, like I literally like start thinking ahead till I'm like, he's too good for her. And because I'm like running and exhausted and my endorphins are pumping and everything from running, like I started crying. And then like I was like crying running, and I couldn't breathe because I was running and crying. So I had to like get off the treadmill, compose myself, wait for the scene to end, and then get back on the treadmill. And then later when Forrest like breaks out of his braces, I was running and I looked down, I was like, this is such a gift. left, then I can run. And I started crying again, and I couldn't breathe, so I had to get off the treadmill again and like compose myself when he started running for the first time. So that's a little personal story of Forrest Gump.
Well, it's because this is the first time that I've really watched it since I was a kid, and it kind of like brought me back to like when I broke my leg and like I started running again.
Yeah.
You know? Like getting through like all the cast, and like I remember like actually putting weight down on my leg and like feeling like things like starting to begin to harden and get back to being aligned and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So then watching him do it, I'm just like, I mean, obviously he didn't have anything like a fracture like that, but just him going and then me remembering back to when I was like, I'm going again.
Able to do it again, yeah.
Yeah, that definitely brought back memories, good memories.
And you were excited that your leg didn't like explode when the explosives went off.
Yeah. You had the gun for the start of a race during track.
Yeah.
Like, I still got my legs. What? Just turns into Dash. For me, I cried twice as well watching it again, honestly.
Wait, really? Like last time? Like, yeah, today?
Yeah.
Wait, when?
Okay, so the first time was when his mother was in the bed
Oh, yeah,
and she was passing away.
I almost did there too. My mom did. She was like in and out watching it with me, and she watched it, I think, at that point, and she was like,
Yeah. The second point was when he was with Jenny, and she tells him that he's sick. And what got me here was when Forrest was like, if you're sick, Jenny, I'll take care of you. You know?
Yeah, like without a thought.
Yeah, just again like going to like the whole like he's too good for her. I don't know.
Yeah.
Some there's just like hit. I'm like, gosh darn it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to say like he's too good for her kind of thing, but like she obviously has gone through a lot. Like we learned in the next part, in this next scene, where like you learn that like her father
Is abusive.
It is implied like abused her. Yeah, I feel like Jenny has a very good arc. Like all the characters, I want to say.
Well, she definitely does.
In this story, like it's very interesting because Forrest Gump, our protagonist, doesn't really have like an arc almost. Like he stays very true and doesn't really change much like at all throughout the film. He does a bit to an extent, but like it's the characters around him that are affected by him that change that is very interesting. Like Jenny, how she comes around, and definitely with Lieutenant Dan, like his arc is incredible. It's just very interesting, like not conventional for regular protagonists.
Yeah, because usually you see your protagonist has to go through like some kind of change to be able to overcome whatever challenges they come.
If Tony Stark just remained like a jerk at the end of Iron Man, like
there'd be no change. Yeah, and there'd be like no point to him becoming Iron Man in that case, because it's like, why are you Iron Man then? You're just doing it to be Iron Man.
Yeah.
But in this case, Forrest has always been like innocent, pure of heart, just trying to help people.
And his heart, yeah. The director in this like commentary, this commentary was a little weird because I think they were recording it like 25 years after it came out, so like they were kind of all over the place, like jumping around, which is kind of probably what we're gonna do and have been doing. So apologies for that. But like he said that like it's Forrest's heart, that like his pure heart that takes him through everything, like that like helps him through his experiences that he goes through, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Then we get, like we said, the running scene. Those kids throw rocks at him. That freaking hurts.
That's rough, buddy.
We're at this place called Oak Alley. These locations actually were all very close to each other. Like, so the bench was filmed in Savannah, Georgia. That whole that part. A lot of the stuff that's like Greenbow, Alabama, which like isn't actually a real place. That was filmed in South Carolina, and they actually like really lucked out. Like the road that they filmed like Forrest running on was like down the road from Forrest's location for his house, which was like across the street from Jenny's like shack. That they built that shack for Jenny also, and they planted all that corn for the field.
Oh wait, really?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
How long does it take for corn to like propagate and like grow to like that size?
Like a few months, knee high by the 4th of July, you know.
I mean, I guess they're also building the house and stuff like that.
Dude, wait, I need to tell a joke. I was on a run the 3rd of July, I think it was, and the reason I remember this because like the saying is like knee high by the 4th of July, and the corn was really freaking tall. It was like as tall as I was, so I was like, it's me high by the 4th of July. And again, I was running, so my endorphins were pumping, and I was like, that is the funniest thing I've ever said.
Oof.
Back to the take. Oh, and that was also across the street from, like, down the road, I think, or something. It was really close to, like, the tree that they hang out on, their tree.
I always love that tree.
Yeah. It's across the street from the dirt road that they filmed a lot of Vietnam in.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Oh, also, can I give a PSA, I guess? If you see someone running, you don't have to shout, "Run, Forrest, run!" It's really great to hear, like, honestly, the first, like, 3 times, but then the next, like, 30, Jenny is not the best.
How many times have you heard it? I know I've heard it a good couple times.
A lot. It happened more when I was like, I feel like it was like beginning of cross country when I started out. And then I think people got used to seeing me out. So they were like, I'm not going to shout this every time. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a rite of passage.
There's like that one person that's dedicated to shouting it every time.
Yeah.
For me, there's so many times where like why I want to talk about people's form. Like say they're running by and like their arms are like too tense. Or like they're like going too side by side. I'm just, hey, we're going to follow through.
Yeah, what do you think of Forrest's running? Oh, are you talking about just real life?
This is in real life. Like if you're driving by and you see somebody.
Oh. Well, what do you think of Forrest's running form?
I mean, as long as it works for him, because he's freaking fast.
Reminds me of Tom Hanks. The arms are like straight and did I say Tom Hanks? Tom Cruise.
I was going to say, yeah, I'm like, it is Tom Hanks.
That's why it reminds me of him.
My brain there was like processing that. I'm like, what is he trying to say?
Sorry about that. Back to Tank. Oh, I love when he says, every time I was going somewhere, I was running. Apparently the kid, Michael Humphreys, didn't like running it all the time. So towards the end, he just like had a running double do some of his running stuff that was like far away.
I mean, I feel like you'd need that for some of the shots. Like the one shot where like he's being chased by the kids on the bikes and then they like pan over to him like running towards the field and then you have to have like the double.
Oh yeah, definitely. And he's like
out there.
a year away. Yeah.
Yeah.
So young Forrest runs to Jenny's house and the whole like abuse thing. There's actually a deleted scene that I again don't know if they were joking on this panel or not. It did not sound like they were, but like Robert Zemeckis said that there was a deleted scene that they actually filmed where like it was heavily implied that young Jenny like killed her dad.
What?
Yeah, like they said it was filmed that like her dad is like picking up a rock or trying to lift something really heavy in the field and Jenny like is staring at him like intensely and there's a tractor like a bit behind him and then all of a sudden you just see like the tractor start like going towards him.
Dude.
And they
cut it. No, dude, that would like totally ruin like her redemption arc.
I know.
Oh my god.
But yeah, Jenny goes to live with her grandma.
Oh my god, imagine that. Okay, Jenny, you're gonna live with your grandma because your father's dead. He was somehow ran over by his own tractor. We don't know how that happened.
Somehow mysteriously.
You're like, oh, I don't know. I'm 8. I'm Jenny.
She's got like grease on her hands. Anyway, so we then finally get to Tom Hanks, and I think Robin Wright was the person that played adult Jenny.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. He's running again, showing his running off. And I feel like, so people criticize his editing a lot because like when this truck is like chasing him, there's this one part where like the truck is like right behind him. Then it cuts to right before he turns and the truck is like 30 feet behind him, which like, it's not really that noticeable if you're not looking for it. But this film actually did win the Oscar for best editing in 1995.
I mean, I guess you'd have to take into consideration not only like the timings of like shots like that, but also like the effects that they do for all the putting him in the flashbacks.
Well, they also won best visual effects.
Oh.
So I think that was a different Oscar. They won best picture, best actor, which Tom Hanks, best director, best writing, best editing, and best VFX in 1995.
What was that, like 6?
Yeah, it was 6. A lot.
Jeez, yeah.
Oscars are like a box of chocolates. Never know what you're gonna get.
Oh look, I got 6 golden ones.
Oh, and then he runs onto the football field.
Yeah.
All right, so apparently the reason that this whole like football thing, like the reason Forrest plays football is because they wanted like obviously him to be in historical footage and like the JFK, they went through a whole process of looking for this whole historical footage to put Forrest Gump in, like Tom Hanks in. Mm-hmm. They searched for like 2 years, like some of the editors for like archival footage and stuff that would work. And they found this archival footage of JFK meeting the all-American like football team, whatever. And so they wrote backwards to kind of like naturally make it so that would lead up and that'd be a way for him to meet JFK.
Huh. How did they get his audio to sound like? I guess that's what it needs to be.
For some of it, like they got an impersonator and like literally just like painted over his lips and made him say something different, which they had a lot of ethical discussions about that because that was kind of a lot of the first time it was done and they knew that this would like really change things and they were a little worried about like what would happen about if you can change like historical
footage and
yeah.
I think they did it respectfully.
Yeah. Well, I was going to talk about the football. I was going to talk about the music. So they intentionally tried to kind of blend between records like of the time period and then like an actual score. So like obviously there's like a lot of like there was like popular songs from the era or time period that Forrest is in at the time, and they tried to do that for like the kind of action moments and like the landscape establishing things that were kind of exciting, and then for like emotional like beats and emotional moments they actually like laid on a score, like a film, like which I think it worked really well.
Yeah, I think the biggest or one of the biggest moments where you see that is later when they're in Vietnam and he's like going back to pick up,
yeah,
because you get like a lot of like the Vietnam propaganda war music and went along with that. But then like when he's actually under attack and the platoon's going down,
right, it just changes
straight into like atmospheric and score, and
like when Bubba dies,
yeah. But that's later on. We'll get to that.
We get another thing of the historical footage in Alabama. Like the school he went to was the first school, or one of the first schools that like had African Americans like go to the same classes, kind of thing. It was like really difficult to like pull those scenes off. So like they obviously had to do the research and look for the different camera angles, and then they had to like cast lookalikes of a lot of the same people and put them in the same places to like recreate the scene for like the like the shots that weren't of the historical footage.
Yeah.
And like cutting back and forth between. Sometimes they took that footage that like they recreated and they made it look like all grainy and like old, and like kind of blending both. Sometimes they just put Tom Hanks into the historical footage. Just like so many different techniques to accomplish this. ILM actually worked on this, and it's like, all right, I found this fascinating. So John Knoll, the guy who we talked about, had the idea for Rogue One, and like the probably head visual effects guy at ILM. He worked on this as well, and this was back when this was in 1994. So if you remember when we talked about Star Wars in the 90s, George Lucas was looking to make the first complete digital film, and he was trying to get that for Phantom Menace, but he didn't get it in time, so they had to film that with actual like film. And then Attack of the Clones was the first one, like we talked about, which was all digital, like recorded digitally. So they were making all these advancements and figuring out like VFX and stuff in the 90s. And so ILM, like it was this new computer department. Forrest Gump, the visual effects, a lot of them were done with these advancements that George Lucas was making for Star Wars. So I think it's very cool to see how those, like the two things we've talked about, like they're different movies, but like the industry like kind of collaborating and how that all works together to make these things in cinema history.
Yeah.
That was deep.
Definitely cool to see how the technology helps evolve like the overall, not only just like the look and the aesthetic, but just fundamentally how the stories are being told.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I could not have said it better.
So he's playing football, he gets to college.
He sees Jenny at the all-girls college.
That's right.
Jenny. There's Jenny. She's Jenny.
She's Jenny.
I feel bad for what's her face?
The roommate?
Yeah, the roommate. Her robe. That stinks.
It's like, yikes. And she's just awake over there, just seeing what's going on.
Yeah.
I bet that doesn't happen in that class.
Home ec or whatever.
It doesn't. Yeah. That was honestly a really interesting point to just see how like their relationship was starting to change. Obviously not just because like the teenage, and college flirtatiousness, but like Jenny obviously wasn't interested in Forrest that way.
Yeah.
Like she's seen other guys. I don't know if she's like feeling bad. I don't know like how you would, like she's trying to include Forrest away into like how people are normally. I think that's more of the best way to describe that.
Okay.
So it's nice to see how she continues with that further on with how they interact with each other in some cases. But yeah.
Then we get to Forrest graduating from college, and he joins the army, and he meets Bubba.
Freaking Bubba. It was his mom and his mom's mom and his mom's mom's mom.
Yeah.
They all knew anything there was about shrimp.
It was apparently really weird. Like in the original script, they didn't know why Forrest would take up Bubba's legacy of like doing all the shrimp. In the original script, Bubba didn't just talk about shrimp. Like he talked about shrimp briefly. So like they changed it so that Bubba only talked about shrimp like while they were like forming their friendship kind of thing. That whole like little montage. Actually,
I feel like that makes sense.
Ice Cube almost played Bubba.
No, he did not.
They wanted him for Bubba, but he didn't want to play Bubba.
Like Bubba's a no-go. Oh, dude, that would have been so weird.
Also, I just want to point out, like here, like he's talking about Bubba and how they first met, like with the narration and everything. The timing for the narration was very difficult to nail down. Like when they were filming, because they filmed the narration halfway through the production, so Tom Hanks could kind of get into the character and like get familiar with it, and then they filmed the bench scene. And so like for the first half, they didn't have the actual. They had like rough edits of the lines and stuff, but they didn't know exactly where everything was going to go. So they had to like build like kind of natural pauses within the dialogue. So like when Bubba and Forrest sit like down next to each other, they did like pause before they said their one line. And that's just very complicated. They said they had like cassette tapes like on set, so they could just like play to like kind of get the general timing.
That's a weird problem.
Yeah.
I guess that would probably be the best way to do it, just to have multiple things set up. That way you could just pick and choose whichever ones you need to have in series.
Yeah.
I really like that they only made Bubba talk about shrimp and what you were saying before, because that kind of like defines his character in a way.
Yeah. Oh, also for like all the military stuff, they had the military actors like in Forrest's squad. Like they had a military consultant. I forget what his name is, but apparently he's like pretty famous for doing like military consulting on films. He actually put the actors like through like a few day like boot camp, and like the actors were like, some of them enjoyed it because they were getting immersed in it, but others were like very upset. Yeah. Then we also get to Jenny like gets kicked out of college because of the Playboy magazine thing, which also I think it's really weird. The guy like is facing the other way, leans over, gives like Forrest the magazine, then leans back over and like looks like he's just completely asleep again. Gonna hit my cue. All right, now I'm done.
Okay,
my job is done.
Make sure Forrest sees some women's.
Some Jenny.
Now I sleep.
I love how Forrest is so supportive and makes his way to see Jenny performing. His smile is so genuine when he sees her performing on stage. Like he thinks, because she told him that like her goal was to like perform, and he thinks like she's made it, like her dream came true, and he's just so happy for her.
And then the guy starts
doesn't know
haggling.
Yeah. Well, you know the shot. Okay, I didn't want to bring this up, but
yeah.
I have to. So you know the shot like behind her where like you see her butt.
Yeah.
So in the director's commentary, either the writer or the director, like as soon as it cut there, he was like, "Oh, that's a great shot," and I was like, "What?" What? Okay. I just wanted to bring that up.
Well, okay.
Moving on. So the interior of that club was shot in LA, but then the exterior, when they go outside and talk on that bridge, that was in Georgia. The power of editing.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. And on this bridge, when he says he loves her, and then she says that he doesn't know what love is, that really stings.
Yeah.
But then, like, obviously she comes around the end and knows that he loves her and she loves him and she doesn't deserve him.
I totally forgot about it, but that actually goes back full circle to like later on to like when he proposes, because he makes that line where he says,
I do know what love is. Yeah, I may not be the smartest, but I do know what love is, or something like that.
Yeah. Every time you quote Forrest Gump, it's so hard to do it without like the voice.
I just want to do it so quickly. I'm like, I gotta get through this before like I slip into a southern accent.
I gotta get through this quickly before I start, dude.
Yeah. But yeah, then we go to Forrest in Vietnam. We got the cool helicopter shot. This location, when they land the helicopter, was like in a swamp, and literally like the water flooded at different times of the day, so they had to like really quickly like get the shots they needed before like the water rose and like the camera got wet and stuff. And like apparently the director said like the helicopter pilot like wasn't allowed to land. He had to like hover, and then like Forrest got out, and like then the helicopter took off again. But like it looked like it touched the ground. I don't know.
Maybe they had like a set landing thing for it.
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. Yeah, this is where they first meet Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan, Gary Sinise, I think is the actor's name. My grandparents met him last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they have an RV.
Did they like see him somewhere and they're like,
No, they went to see.
It's Lieutenant Dan.
He has a band actually, and it's called the Lieutenant Dan Band. And apparently he like got like some perspective, and like when he was playing this character, and now he goes around and like plays for like veterans and active duty military people, and like it's like a fundraiser thing, charity, like to support veterans and stuff. It's actually like crazy inspirational and like really awesome what he's doing.
That's such a smart move.
Yeah, my grandparents like literally like last year they sent me like pictures of them with him. I was like, what?
Does he have like prop fake new legs?
No.
That's like the drumsticks.
You know those pictures where like people meet celebrities and like it's like a guy and then the wife and then like the husband's like off to the side kind of thing?
Yeah.
It kind of looked like that. Like Lieutenant Dan was like very fond of my grandma. And my grandma was like kind of also there.
Oh man, dude, that actually reminds me. This is kind of off topic. Actually, this is really off topic, but I think it's relevant.
Also, thanks for listening, Grandma Pep. All right, sorry, go ahead.
And it's very funny. So I was at Alien Con this one time. Okay. I'm not sure if you watch Ancient Aliens, but Giorgio Tsoukalos, he's like one of the lead guys on the show.
Yeah.
And you're able to get a picture with him. So we're in line, we're waiting, and there's like this older couple in front of us. I kid you not. I see this woman. Tsoukalos in the middle. She's on the right. She has a full hand on his butt.
Whoa, what?
And I looked right up at his face. He was shocked.
Jeez.
He's like, okay, thank you. I don't think he saw me witness it. You could tell he was like a little bit off then, but then he like tried to get
like
back
very uncomfortable.
Yeah, but then he would like try to get like back on track. It's like, oh, hey, who are you? It's like, he's wanted to talk to me then, and he's like, oh.
So you met him right after that traumatic experience.
Yes, and what he said to me basically was like, stay in school, expand your knowledge.
So that doesn't happen to you.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It was just a very, very weird experience.
So to any Whatever We Want fans out there, please do not put your hands on our butts. We would appreciate that.
Don't grab our butts.
That's the moral of the story. Are we ready to back to the tank?
That's all I have to say about that.
All right.
So we're in Nam.
We get to Lieutenant Dan.
Yeah.
We see although his ancestors die in every war, he believes it's his destiny to
die in battle.
Die in this war.
Yeah.
That was actually shot on the last day of production, his like ancestors dying. And that was shot on the rooftop of a hotel. hotel.
This is a hotel?
Where Jenny actually almost like did her suicide later.
Oh, jeez.
This is a hotel, did you say?
Yeah, I did.
And like we said, Lieutenant Dan's arc is very interesting. Like when he's saved, like he has to figure out his life and then come to terms with his situation and kind of like move on and just start living his life kind of thing. He didn't know what he was going to do. It's just his arc.
What can I say? Dan's know how it be. You know?
Oh my gosh. I was waiting for that. I was like, when's he going to mention that his name's also Daniel?
I had to say it. I had to.
Some people actually, when they saw this, they thought that they gave fake legs to a double amputee like actor because the effects were done so well of him like not having when he gets his legs like cut off.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Then we get a war montage.
Yep.
Dale Dye. That's the guy. He's the army consultant that put them through the boot camp.
Yeah, it's pretty much just them going through the... How was this shot? You said this was in South Carolina, right?
Yeah, most of it was in South Carolina. And actually, Dale, the military consultant, he said that this was like the closest... He served in Vietnam, and he said this was the closest like terrain that he's seen in any movie, like get to the Vietnam like atmosphere and everything. And like with the... They made like fake rain. They actually had like a jet engine, and they just blew like wind and then like put water down to make like the sideways rain and stuff. Tom Hanks said it was not a very fun experience.
Yeah, I bet not.
Yeah.
Must have been like crazy loud too. That must have been like some really good sound editing to like get that covered.
Yeah. And then we also see Bubba and Forrest solidifying the relationship. He asks him to like join him in the shrimping business, which is sad. Oh, we only cut away from Forrest's perspective when we go to see Jenny to see what she's up to because well, he's writing to her, so it's kind of a good segue. But like obviously he's like telling the story, so like he wouldn't know
what's going on with her.
But it needed to be told like for her story and her arc kind of thing. Yeah. And actually, so the hippies at this part, she's in front of the El Capitan Theater, or maybe it was a Chinese. I think she's in front of the Chinese theater in California, which I've been there. Don't mean to brag, but she's a full hippie right now, hanging out with hippies. And these hippies, they were actors from the Maryland Renaissance Fair because they needed people with long hair. So that's where they were hired from.
Nice.
Yeah. And then we get to the ambush that you were talking about earlier.
The way that they do this is like the rain stops and then like you see the sunlight and then just bam right into it. I thought that was a really good way to do that.
Yeah, just end the last thing and start the other immediately, like within the same shot.
Yeah.
Forrest is told to run.
Well, that's another thing that he was told to run by Jenny like forever ago.
Yeah.
When she was like out on that thing, and he's told not to do the brave thing, but he ran and then he decided to go back and do the brave thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, he needs to save Bubba.
Yeah.
I've gotta save Bubba. And he saved so many people though.
Yeah, he did. He saved like a full like squad.
Yeah.
Like at least like 5-6 people.
56 people.
You know, on top of getting shot in the bum.
Something bit me.
Something bit me.
And then obviously he saves Lieutenant Dan, but he doesn't want to be saved because
he wants to die.
It's a really cool shot where Forrest is running out with Bubba.
The explosions.
Then the explosions go off. Those explosions were practical.
Really?
But what they did, they filmed
on a plate, like a green plate or something.
No, I mean they filmed the same location. They filmed location, the same spot of Forrest carrying Bubba, and like we said earlier, with Bubba kind of on a crane to help with the weight, kind of running out of the woods. And then they filmed the explosions, and like they had to like time it perfectly so that like Forrest wouldn't be like engulfed in the explosions and then just emerge because like they got the timing off. But like they actually like bombed that place.
It's crazy.
Yeah, Tom Hanks said he was in an interview. He was like, they were like, "How'd you do that shot?" And he was like, "It was crazy. Like there's explosions going off everywhere. If I made one wrong step, I would have died." And then he was like, "Just kidding. I was in my trailer sleeping when they were doing the explosions part."
See, that's something that's always fun about like doing like acting stuff like that. Like we haven't done anything of that scale, but like the projects we've done.
Yeah, we've definitely not done anything of that scale.
You don't want to blow up like a little town, Jake?
Don't have that budget. What were you gonna say about the stuff we've done?
Well, no, I was just gonna say it's like fun to like think about like, oh yeah, man, when like Evan like used his wizard spells on me that one time, I thought I was gonna like get zapped. And, like, oh no, I was just being crazy.
No, I mean you were literally like holding the light at that point, like beside me. You weren't even across from Evan. That is what was happening. Because we had no crew. That was a good project.
It was.
I still have the other Star Wars project I need to finish editing. I haven't yet. Yeah. Back to the Tank. That's all I have to say about that.
That was a good one. It was a good one. Smooth.
Are we just adding to our like it's gonna be Back to the Tank? That's all I have to say about that. No, that's not as catchy.
No, I think we should just use it in different scenarios, but like whichever ones it works, Right. So like because this is Forrest, you could say that for like any time in this one. That's all I gotta say about that. Yeah. Like say we're talking about Back to the Future, that could work either way because of the same director.
Oh, director, but it's also back to see back to the say about that. All right, back to the say about that. So he finds Bubba, gets out. Alan Silvestri did the score for this, and it's really emotional when he is like carrying Bubba out, and Bubba is like literally just dies. And then Forrest is taken to the infirmary, little pop-up hospital triage thing with Lieutenant Dan.
He's right next to Lieutenant Dan.
Tries to get him some ice cream. Lieutenant Dan, ice cream.
He puts his ice cream right in the toilet. I'm like, bruh,
Yeah.
that's ice cream.
My family, we do this inside joke because we've seen this movie and love it. But like every time we talk about ice cream, we go, ice cream, Lieutenant Dan, ice cream. And ice cream truck comes every Wednesday, so it at least happens like once a week.
It's like Kylie comes downstairs, Lieutenant Dan,
Yeah.
ice cream.
But also we see here the effects for Lieutenant Dan's legs.
Yeah, so how was this done?
So it was a couple different ways. The guy we were talking about earlier, John Knoll, he was a co-developer of Photoshop, the ILM guy. And so they had this new technology, Photoshop, it was just came out, and they were able to use that to paint over like the frames and stuff. But what they did for some shots, like when he's laying on the bed in one shot, they put holes in the table.
Into the bed?
And so it was kind of like his legs were just, like straight down into the bed. And then they just kind of painted over the shadows, the extra shadows, and like covered up the holes with a little bit of effects. When they lifted him, he had blue sleeves on his bottom of his legs and then bandages the top, and they just kind of continued the bandages.
I know they had to do like a mix of that
Yeah.
for a later shot. Like when they're, I think it was on his apartment, and like there was like
The table.
him swinging himself around.
Yeah,
The table.
What they did that a lot because they wanted to kind of sell. It was actually work for them, but it helped sell the effect more. Like they wanted to show that like this person does not have legs. So like the shot you're talking about is later in his apartment. He falls off his wheelchair and he swings his legs around, and there's a table. And like if he had real like legs, which he obviously does, he would have like hit
the
that
table.
table and knocked it down, kind of thing. There was no way to do that.
He would have stopped his toe.
What they did, there was no table there in the shot. They had a spot marked for it where it would go in the final shot, and then they removed his like blue sleeve legs, and then they added like a CG table just to that shot. Right when he like later he like forgives or thanks Forrest for like saving his life, he like swings his legs over the
boat.
Yeah, the boat. And what he did, there was actually like where he swings his legs, like to the right there was like no actual side to the ship, so he could swing his legs like around and not hit anything. And they added the side of the boat there and removed his legs. It's just crazy how many visual effects went into this for 1994.
Yeah, dude.
There's also like, for speaking of visual effects, like the crowd scene later when he comes back from Vietnam and he's like speaking at
That protest.
that protest. Yeah, like they only had like 700 extras, but they staged them all around the Washington Monument and like duplicated them to make it look like 250,000 people.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy. When was that first done?
I don't know.
Like, it's something you see now, like, all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were talking about, because of this 25th anniversary thing, they were looking back, like, at all the techniques they did and how complicated it was and how simple it is now. Like, there are literally, like, programs that you don't need any extras. Like, you can just do, like, a simulation of people, which is what they did for Bohemian Rhapsody for Live Aid. They just, like, made simulations of people. Like, there's actually probably, like, 200 real people in the front, and then a lot of them are copies or just, like, simulations of people.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Back to the tank. So he sees that his letters from Jenny never got sent because she doesn't like live there anymore. And actually one of his letters, or two of his letters, I think have different zip codes. So like, I don't know if he was maybe just sending it to the wrong place, but probably not. I don't think you're supposed to look at the zip codes. Then Forrest gets into ping pong, and it reminded me of that Drake and Josh episode where they're like really good, like, what's
Flinging it back and forth.
Yeah.
I've seen Drake and Josh in so long.
They had CG like ping pong balls for a lot of it.
Oh, I figured with like the speed that they were going.
Yeah. They actually, so like, you know, when he goes to China later and he's like flinging the ping pong balls to get like around with the really good like ping pong player.
Yeah.
That guy is actually like a really good professional like ping pong player. And because they were using like a fake ball, like the guy that actually is good at ping pong was having a lot of trouble like doing the timing of like fake hitting because he's used to using like a real ping pong ball.
But then there's Tom Hanks over there who's just a pro at being a fake ping pong player now. He's like, I am the pro now.
Pro at acting, yeah. What they did, they had a metronome actually, and it would like kind of tick a low beat for Tom Hanks and then a high beat for the other guy, and then they just kind of hit off of that. Yeah. I also like this little moment here when Lieutenant Dan grabs Forrest off the bed. It's freaky, but I like that Forrest like does have perspective on
to
what
not
it is.
be able to use his legs.
Yeah, exactly.
I was thinking the same thing about myself personally, but I only lost half a leg, or not half a leg, but like
I'm just imagining it's like Tom Hanks and Gary Sinise having like this touching moment, and you pan to the left, and Daniel's also just on the ground like grabbing Tom Hanks like, hey,
listen, I've also broken my leg. You'll be fine. It's not like losing a leg is way worse, you know? No.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's also just weird to see. Well, not weird. It's just like how Lieutenant Dan evolves from like, it's almost like the stages of grief. you know? But then like he eventually is able to
definitely
get through them. Like then he actually goes back to find Forrest like after his interview later on.
Right, because that leads into he gets to the Medal of Honor from, I think, was it Johnson at this point? I don't know who the president was at that point.
I think it was. I don't know. Wait, no, wasn't it Nixon?
No, Nixon was later.
No, you're right. Nixon was later.
Mr. Swati would be ashamed of us. There's a quick line here that after the ceremony, Mama went to the hotel to lay down. That might be foreshadowing that maybe she's like already getting sick, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you could also just want to lie down after your son gets the Medal of Honor and then flashes his butt wound to the president. You know, that'd also be a good reason to like want to lay down and not think about anybody.
But yeah, so Gump goes to this anti-war speech.
It's not a war, it's a truce thing. I don't know. He has a whole speech and like nobody can hear him.
All right, so apparently Tom Hanks has come out and said that what he said here is sometimes when people go to Vietnam, they go home to their mamas without any legs. Sometimes they don't go home at all. That's a bad thing. And that's all I have to say about that.
I feel like he was talking for a lot longer than that, though.
But he also like could be like
talking a lot slower,
yeah,
pausing.
Yeah, this speech in the movie takes place in 1968, but there was no speech in like history, or whatever, in 1968. Apparently, the director said there was a real anti-war speech in 1967 and 1969, but they kind of just combined those for 1968 because it worked better for the story. And they reunite with Jenny.
That was just also really a sweet moment.
That was a cool shot again. And so the cinematographer actually, and I think maybe it was the director, I don't even know who said it, but like he doesn't like it when someone says like that was a cool shot, because and this is an interesting perspective I haven't really thought about. Like if you say like that's a cool shot, that means you're paying attention to the shot and it's like kind of taking you out of the movie. You're thinking it's like it's a shot like from a movie. He prefers it when people don't comment on shots and like
you're just immersed in it.
They're like go invisible to you.
Yeah,
because that means he's doing his job and like you're in the movie, like you don't even think it's a shot, like it's just part of the movie kind of thing, which it's interesting. Like I see both perspectives to that.
I feel like you can still have a cool shot and not immersed.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
Like when there's a shot over Forrest's shoulder when he like sees Jenny going to the pond, so then eventually like him going down, like it's both of those shots in general were cool shots, whether it be the down shot or the up shot. But I wasn't taken out of the moment.
Right.
In either case, I'm either one of the people standing on the stage with Forrest who's behind him, or I'm one of the people in the crowd that's next to him now when they're actually hugging.
Right.
I don't know.
So Jenny brings Forrest to the Black Panther hideout, and her freaking horrible boyfriend. Boo. I don't love it. I don't love it. All right, let me restate this.
You love it when she's abused. Wow,
no,
Jake.
I don't love it when she's abused. I love it when Forrest saves her.
Yeah.
And like literally, as soon as she's get hit, like the sound drains and he just like beelines for.
Was it a rack focus?
I don't think it was rack focus. I think it was a there was short depth of field, so that you literally were only focused on Tom Hanks. It wasn't a wide angle. It was you could only see Tom Hanks' face and everything around it was blurry, which was not the case for the other like shots in this scene. So I think that's what you're thinking of. It kind of jumped out at you.
Yeah.
It's a good effect that like really helps you focus and shows that he is focused on kicking that guy's butt.
You heard my Jenny.
Yeah.
He could have got shot, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's just still trying to do the right thing, you know?
Yeah. Anyways, they talk and catch up overnight, and then Jenny, I combined saying Jenny and Jenny, and it just kind of came out Jenny. Jenny's boyfriend, Wesley, kind of apologizes.
No.
Not really. He's like just making excuses.
It's not a real apology.
Yeah. And then freaking Forrest gives her his Medal of Honor, and it's like, you're my girl.
I almost lost it there too.
Yeah, this is the only time that Forrest yells and like shows anger is when Wesley comes up and he's like, she should go back. I'm gonna back up to Greenbow, Alabama. And then I love it, and my mom loves this part too, when Jenny gets on the bus and he smiles at her, and then he gets on the bus and he like squints at her or squints at him. There's actually a great attention to detail before Jenny gets on the bus. When he's hugging her, I noticed that he has like dried up blood on his knuckles, which I'm guessing is from when he like beat up Wesley the night before, because they haven't like gone home and changed or anything.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, when he hugs, you can see his knuckles and there's dried blood, which is like crazy planning, because those scenes were most definitely not shot like very close to each other
at the same time. Yeah.
And again, another small thing with Tom Hanks' performance, when Jenny leaves, like she gives him a peace sign and he like holds up a peace sign a little awkwardly, and then like if you look at his other hand when it zooms out, his other hand's like kind of confused about whether or not to make a peace sign, and then at the end it just makes a peace sign like kind of down at his side.
I didn't even notice that either. But I guess it makes sense because it's Forrest being, a little bit awkward, trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah. And it's also like the girl that he really likes, so like probably maybe a little nervous about that. I don't know.
Yeah. So then we go into ping pong.
And he's on the talk show with John Lennon.
It's weird how many moments where they talked about people also just straight up getting whacked in this movie, if you think about it. Because there was just like a lot of points where people were like assassinated, or there were assassination attempts.
I don't think this movie could have been made today.
Definitely not.
Also, just like Hollywood's changed, that I don't think anyone would fund such a risk like this. This is not a very conventional movie that I don't think people would fund. I don't know.
No. If anything, it would have to come out of like the indie film.
Yeah. But then we get Lieutenant Dan outside the TV studio again. He's got his wheelchair and some long hair. Not in the best place. And he slides down the ramp. So that wheelchair actually, like, it was a specially made wheelchair. I don't know if there was that many visual effects shots for some of the wheelchair stuff. There's probably a little bit, but like, he didn't have his like legs in the front of the wheelchair. They built like a little platform on the, and like had like an inclined seat. So that
he could tuck his feet in to like where he's sitting.
Yeah, he could literally, he could like contort in a weird way that like he could put his feet like in the chair almost. Apparently it was very
awkward and painful.
Like you had to stretch a lot, and like he could only film for like 10 minutes at a time in the chair before he had to like get up and stretch for a little bit. I don't know, it looks good. I didn't notice that it was a different weird wheelchair.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense because like you could cover a lot under what was underneath his tush, so
yeah. Also, speaking earlier of those movie quotes, we get the "I'm walking here," even though he's like
just rolling. Yeah, I was gonna say
he doesn't have legs.
He's not walking, but yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah. Forrest stays with Lieutenant Dan here.
They go to the bar. They pick up some chicks.
Well, also Lieutenant Dan says he'll be his first mate if he ever gets a.
Oh yeah, that's right. If he ever gets a shrimp boat. He also said something about being an astronaut, but I guess this means he's not a man of his word because he didn't go and do that.
Well, actually, Tom Hanks and Gary Sinise starred in, I think it was Apollo 13, and actually no, he didn't. He wasn't an astronaut on that because Gary Sinise got sick in the film, like his character, or was at risk to get sick, so he didn't go into space. Kevin Bacon did instead.
Was he still an astronaut? Was his character still an astronaut?
I think so. I don't know.
You don't need to go to space to technically be an astronaut. You can still be an astronaut, and it's like a rank, isn't it?
Let's just say yeah. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Lieutenant Dan was an astronaut in a different life.
Yeah. How does that work? Hold on. How does that work? Do you have to go to space to be an astronaut, or do you become an astronaut as like a rank, or as like a specialized?
Why on earth would I know that?
Why off of Earth would you not know that?
Oh my gosh, that shook me there. Wow, that's all I have to say about that. So they meet the girls, and I love that Forrest is obviously trying to remain loyal to Jenny and stuff, and the girl like jumps off and asks if he's like stupid or something, and Lieutenant Dan, like, I love that he like snaps and like just so aggressively stands up for Forrest. I think this is a huge turning point for him when he's on the ground and like it's just kind of like reflecting.
And this is where the table scene happens that we were talking about before.
Yeah, exactly. If you want another like a bigger VFX background on that Corridor Crew did a reaction to that.
Oh yeah, that's right. They did talk about that.
Yeah.
I think what really brought this whole scene together was the narration at the end where he was talking about Lieutenant Dan having the condition of not having his legs,
not wanting to be called crippled, and he didn't want to be called stupid.
Yeah.
Which also just shows, like, I think that's one of the first times we can kind of see when people say, "Are you stupid?" or something, like he gets uncomfortable, but like this time he actually says, like, you can tell that like he knows like he's different and he doesn't like being called different.
Yeah.
Then we get to Nixon here, and Forrest catches the Watergate scandal.
Yeah. Interrupted by sleep.
Yeah. Forrest goes home to his mama is discharged.
Yep.
Steals the ping pong paddle.
He like instantly starts running home.
Yeah.
I love that. He's like, okay, I'm out.
And he also goes to pay respects to Bubba and meets Bubba's family and gets Jenny the shrimping boat.
That's very sweet,
Yeah.
What are you going to name your boat? Jenny. I mean, I feel like you'd have to go through a couple more legal hoops because isn't there like a thing where you have to like legally have like a unique name for your boat? I think that's an actual thing.
I don't know. It's fine. I don't know.
But yeah.
And then we actually cut to Jenny, who's not in a good state in her life. She's doing a lot of drugs. This is where I think she almost jumps off the building.
Yeah, she's fishing for trouble here.
It's intense. Oh my.
How do you get that joke in there?
Anyways.
But yeah, dude, it really is intense, like when she's like about to like jump.
Yeah, and the color grading in this really sells it. Like, it's not drastic. Nothing in this film is like very drastic when you think about it, but like if you look at the subtle things that really help sell it, like for like this. So Forrest scenes, like when he's on the boat, it's very beautiful. Like you see the sunset, him like shrimping, very vibrant, saturated. When you cut to Jenny literally about to like almost like contemplating suicide, it changes the color palette. Like they kind of tinted it towards more like a blue green, and they desaturated it a lot to contrast and show the harshness of what the effect the drug is having on her and what she's considering.
Yeah.
It also, I feel like Jenny's character here shows that like you can stray so far from like your path, but you always have like the opportunity to come home kind of thing.
Aww.
Yeah.
Wholesome.
I forget. I wrote that down. I don't know if I wrote that, if I had that original thought or if that was the director. Let's just say it's a hybrid between us.
That's just you trying to take credit for something that's not yours, even if it's just partial.
I don't remember. Fine, it's not mine. I won't say it's mine. If it was mine, I'm gonna regret this. Oh, but here, so Jenny obviously like comes down and doesn't commit suicide, thankfully. I really love this transition. Another editing thing I noticed. So she looks up and to the right, and then it cuts to a shot of the moon, and then it pans down to Forrest, who's looking right to left in the right of the frame. So it's again like that thing where they're looking at each other in the frame between shots kind of thing, which I think was very cool.
2 memories came to my mind, okay? First one, UA, okay? Looking up at the moon.
Yeah, there were 3 characters in that scene, actually. Yue from Avatar. That's rough, buddy.
And then the one song from SpongeBob where they're like, a grill is a grill, and it's like that one shot where it's like their souls, I guess, or like steaming.
Oh,
or like
yeah,
greasing
like the Krusty Krab and the chum bucket.
And there's like the moon in the background.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know why my brain went to that, but it did, and I'm actually not even mad about it.
Maybe that's why we love SpongeBob so much, because it takes inspiration from cinema. We get the Forrest meeting Lieutenant Dan coming to his shrimp boat.
Oh yeah, that's right. And he jumps out.
That was actually a real stunt. Like they had the boat crash into that fake dock they built.
Really?
It was very difficult. They said, yeah, they had like a barge where they had
line it up.
the camera on so they could have the camera like in the water and stuff. They had to make sure that the boat would stop before crashing into like land.
Into the shore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And make sure that like the stuff it was crashing into, like the dock, would not break the boat. It was a lot.
I feel like you'd have the way I would go about that is think of like I don't want to say like a tread, but like a path, something for it to like not like grind across, but something as like a guide under the water there.
Right.
You know?
Under the sea.
That way one can act as like support for the prop dock that you have set up.
Yeah.
But then also to help guide the ship. I'm not sure if that's how they did it or not, but I feel like that's how I would go about
I don't know.
No, it's pretty funny. Him jumping out and then ship crashes. That's a big arc that ship makes in like that little
Yeah, does like a loop.
bay.
Lieutenant Dan becomes the first mate, and he starts living again, and I think really starts kind of coming back to being in a better place. He's past the low point, I think.
I feel like he's like, I mean, we see it later on where Forrest is like, he thinks that he made peace with God, you know?
Right. Well, speaking of, Forrest then goes to this church and is singing in the choir, which I think is a funny shot.
Yeah. And then there's the storm that allows
Yeah.
them to finally start getting all the surplus that they have and make the Bubba Gump.
Bubba Gump Shrimp. That's actually like a restaurant like chain now.
Yeah, it is.
Like there's Bubba Gump Shrimp restaurants in like airports, and there's one on the Santa Monica Pier. It's like very successful. Apparently, like I don't know how much the case is these days, but up until like a few years ago, to work at these, you had to like go through like an intense like trivia test. Like you had to know everything about like the Forrest Gump movies kind of thing.
Wait, really?
Which I think we could go through that now that I've done all this research and we're learning everything.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, because apparently like part of the experience was like you could ask your waiter or waitress to like a question about the movie and they would like have to know or something. But yeah, speaking of that storm, the footage on TV that you see of all the crashed boats, that was like stock footage because they didn't want to like buy a bunch of boats and then destroy them.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good call.
And also it's on TV, so like it doesn't have to look that great or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then Bubba Gump Shrimping Empire. We cut back to the present day and that one guy walks away because he thinks Forrest is full of it.
Yeah, and then he pulls out the magazine.
Pulls out the Fortune magazine.
Like, you want to see what Lieutenant Dan looks like? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then she's like, you can see it. I love how like she reacts. She like sees in his eyes.
Realization.
She's like, oh, he's like been telling the truth the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, not only is he like a millionaire, but like all the stuff that she's been there to listen for, that's all true as well, you know?
Yeah. But then we get to that one part we're talking about where he swings his legs over and he like thanks Forrest. Doesn't really say thank you, but like he thanks him for saving his life. And I think like Lieutenant Dan has accepted and is in a much better place now.
He's come full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally forgot what happened to Lieutenant Dan after this point. So I straight up when he like swam off into like the storm.
You're like, is that it? Is that the
I'm
end
like,
of Lieutenant?
I'm like, Lieutenant Dan just like kill himself?
No.
Because he was also saying he made peace with God. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Well, he's in the next scene.
Oh, no,
when
he
gets
no.
the phone call.
In the next scene, I'm like, oh no, he's good. He's good.
Oh, okay.
But before
Gotcha.
that,
I thought
scene,
you
like,
were freaking out. Like I thought you didn't know until he came back for the wedding at the end. Like I thought you were just in limbo, like didn't know what happened to Lieutenant Dan.
No, I was good at that. Like after the, at the next scene, but like like all that setup where it's like he's making peace with God, and then like he's swimming out in the middle of the ocean. He just thanked Forrest for saving his life. You know,
So, yeah.
they've been eating good, and he's like, you know what, I'm good. And then like I thought he was just gonna like go out. I'm like, okay, Dan.
Dang. There can be only one Dan. It's you.
I am the only one.
back to the thing. So
So then we get the
Forrest
phone call.
gets a call about his mommy.
Where's Mom?
What does he do?
Well, he jumps off the boat and goes swimming straight to shore and starts running because his mama's sick.
I love that he just immediately, like, he runs back. He's still wet as he kind of comes in. It's the same doctor from the beginning that's treating her.
Yeah.
And, yeah, talks about destiny. She talks about destiny again. Like, Lieutenant Dan and her have very different destinies, and I like that they present those, and at the end, when he's at Jenny's grave, he kind of forms his own opinion about what destiny is. It's kind of a combination. I really like that.
Yeah.
Forrest's mom thinks that you make your own destiny with what God gives you, and she then died of, was it cancer, I think it was?
Cancer? Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a funeral service and all that.
Sorry, wait, did they have a funeral for her?
I thought there was just like you see her buried. It wasn't like really like a service. No.
I don't
He's
know
a-
if you
he's
see
a-
her buried.
No, you just. I'm mixing up shots.
Because it cuts back to the back to the
It's
present.
back to back on the bench.
And then I really like here that the old lady doesn't, like, just misses her bus to listen to Forrest's story. I mean, I like that, one, because, like, it just shows she's very kind and considerate. And two, he would have had no one else to tell the story to, so that would have been where the movie ended if she got on the bus.
I mean, you could like drop somebody else off, I guess, but at the same time, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they've been cycling through like 4 people by now.
Yes. 5 if you count the kid, the one mom had.
Yeah.
4.5. It's like 2.5 men. It's a spin-off series. 4.5 bus... bus riders.
It's like Harry Potter.
4.5 bus. Yeah, platform 9 3/4 and like the squeezing bus. All right. Oh, you can also see in this scene, this is so you know how Forrest gives Jenny the gift is like, I ate a few chocolates.
Yeah.
Here you can see him rewrapping the chocolate. So I guess a little before here is where he was munching on those. Nice attention to detail. But yeah, then he doesn't go back to shrimping. Lieutenant Dan invests some of his money in Apple.
So then yeah, they're set in a fruit company.
Yeah, Daniel's a big Apple guy.
I used to be.
What happened?
I discovered building PCs.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait
What?
a minute.
What did we forget?
I just Googled something. I looked,
What?
so the date that they like invested in Apple was 9/23/1975. I don't know if they invested in public stocks, but I just Googled when did Apple stock go public, and it was December 12th, 1980. So I don't know if the timeline matches, but also I don't care.
Well, also
Wait, no, I do care because it was founded on April 1st, 1976. So they invested it before it was even a thing. What?
That's weird.
Forrest Gump is Back to the Future time traveler confirmed. Da-na-na-na. Okay.
Well, that's all I gotta say about that.
Yep. Gump donates a lot of his money. He gives 50% to Bubba's mama, and she
faints.
doesn't have to serve anymore.
I like the shot here where you see now like she's the one sitting down at the table and there's somebody serving her shrimp.
Yeah. And so you know the part, so apparently there was a line here that Forrest says, and you know what? She never had to serve no soup no more or whatever like that. And you know what? That was apparently taken from like an outtake. It was Tom Hanks kind of just getting out of character and saying like a dirty joke to the person on the bench beside him while he was warming up. And they really liked it.
Where can we add this? Right here.
Well, they weren't looking for a place to add it. They just like, it felt empty. So they found that and they were like, that's brilliant.
It's like that George Lucas meme where they're like, he was recording the whole time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. George Lucas doesn't want my eyes to be yellow. I just like dropped acid on them and he was filming for
Some odd reason, and you know, the rest is history.
There's some quality memes if you want to look those up. Anyways, he misses his Jenny and Jenny comes back. Yay.
Jenny, are you okay? You okay, Jenny?
This is the nitpickiest of nitpickiness, but there is grass continuity error here.
How so?
So he's cutting the grass and then he sees Jenny and he stops. So he stops his mower in front of grass that he obviously like hasn't cut. So it's tall grass in front of his mower, short grass behind. Then he gets up and walks towards her. And when he gets up in the next shot, the grass in front of him is already cut. So he's mowing nothing. The grass just magically got cut in front of him.
Oh no, Doc. I'll have to take a look at it.
I mean, I completely understand why they did that because they probably wanted to do multiple shots. And if they just kept cutting grass, they would eventually eventually run out of grass. So they probably just had him go over the same line like over and over again. But like it was just something I noticed. Anyways, they reconnect. Jenny breaks down in front of her old house. I really like the line where Forrest is like, sometimes I just guess there aren't enough rocks.
Yeah. Especially if there's not enough mowers to murder your dad with, apparently.
Yeah, that we won't talk about that. Oh, she also gives him his shoes here, his white running shoes.
Oh yeah, his Nikes.
Shows him how to dance. It was so happy here.
That's really like, why'd you leave? Why?
Yeah, well then we get to that where after they dance, he, like we talked about before, he asks Jenny to marry him. And this part, I noticed that there was no music, but also no score at this part. Like it literally just let the actors in the like performances and the scene speak for itself, and it did.
Yeah.
I was like very interested. I was like invested. I was like, what's happening? Even though like I obviously know what's happening. I've seen the movie. But
is he going to propose? Oh, I don't know.
And then he says, like we said, I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is. He knows he's different, and it makes me sad to hear that.
But he also knows that he loves Jenny, and that
he knows what that is.
A good time together, you know.
Yeah, and also when he goes outside and like puts his hands like behind him, like on his hips, kind of thing.
Yeah,
he saw the young Forrest actor doing that around set, so he copied that. So Jenny comes to Forrest's room. They make a baby, and she says that she loves him too. And then she one night stand leaves him. I hate this.
She left the Medal of Honor, and then
she left the Medal of Honor. I was like, no,
he earned that for you.
So the part the next morning when Forrest is like discovering that like she's gone, they intentionally also left this part in absolute silence so that we could feel his pain as well.
Yeah, but like just imagine that, like imagine like your forever love is just gone. Like they just left.
The pain. Well, this is a big thing. The director said and the creator said that when they were making this film, they didn't think that like people born after 1970 would really understand it, because a lot of it was recreating their childhoods. The filmmakers were born in like the 60s. Yeah. Once they realized it opened domestically and it did really well, they thought, okay, well then the like international audience isn't gonna get it because it's all like American like history and stuff. But like the international loved it as well. And they say, looking back, they think it's because like this universal like message of love and heartbreak, and just the love between like the mother and son, and then between friends with Bubba and Lieutenant Dan, and then obviously like Jenny and him. Like it's just a universal thing that everyone can relate to.
I agree with that.
I like talking about this. It's a very different step than our Marvel Star Wars talk.
Because usually we're talking about like, and then the next explosion happened, and there's like lasers coming in. This is getting like really like real and like down to earth when it comes to like an emotional level, about like a social level, about how like people are able to interact and feel the same kinds of things.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've been thinking a lot over the past few days, weeks about our podcast, like our brand. I feel like it's going to be difficult to grow with our name called like Whatever We Want kind of thing. But I feel like I don't want to change it after like thinking about this and talking about this, because like I was thinking maybe we should just like be like a Marvel podcast kind of thing. But like I want to be able to expand, and I think there's value in talking about all these different movies, and then maybe we could just name it a movie podcast or something. But like I still want to think there's value in talking about other things we talk about too. It might be more difficult to grow this thing, but I think it's possible, and I think it's worth talking about everything. Yeah, and I know we can do it.
The world is our oyster, and we want all of the pearls and all of the sand particles that aren't made into pearls and all of the other things that are in between.
I hate sand. It's coarse. It's rough. It's irritating. It gets everywhere. That's all I have to say about that. Well, we're mixing memes now. Star Wars with Forrest Gump. It's running time. He gets on his new shoes, clean and white. And being a runner, I absolutely love this part of the film. There's not like a lot of really running movies out there, or at least ones that are like really mainstream. And for this extended sequence to be put into the film, I think is really incredible. It was actually inspired by like a real person.
Yeah, I forget his name though.
Michael Figueroa. I don't know how. Michael F. was his name. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He ran from New Jersey to San Francisco for the American Cancer Society in 1982 when he was 16 years old. Yeah. It just keeps going. Like Forrest just keeps going, keeps running. They were very nervous about putting this sequence together. It was shot all out of order. It was very difficult because like basically when they were just filming other things, if they were in a cool location or saw like a cool sunset, they were like, all right, let's get a running shot. So like it was very difficult because they had to plan the beard length so they could have beard continuity and hair length continuity. So they had to think very far ahead for how they wanted the running sequence to go so that they could film in all these locations in different times and like have the makeup come in and do the right like beard length, which is a weird thing to think about.
Which beard are we putting on today?
It's
beard number 5. It's medium length.
I was gonna say 5. Dang it. Oh well, I didn't.
Imagine we both said 5 like that. We're just like, oh.
I can edit. We can do it. Beard number 5. No, I'm just kidding. I won't edit that, and now I'm just gonna leave this all in. So you're welcome, everyone. All right, but anyway, so he runs to the Santa Monica Pier, which my family and I were there back when I was in California, and then he runs back. And actually, so on my senior trip with the music program, we went down to Disney, and I was with some of my buddies, and we sat at the Hollywood Studios restaurant, and they have the shorts and shirt that he ran for some of those scenes in there, like the props, like the wardrobe, not the props.
That's cool.
Yeah, I felt empowered to run.
You see those props, and you're like, oh man, I need to go.
I just get up and leave, run around Disney.
Start like running around Galaxy's Edge.
They're like, what are you doing, sir? I just felt like running. Apparently in that part, there's like a rumor that like the one reporter beside her that's like dressed up as a male, like he has a really high voice and he's like the same height as Sally Field. And some people, I don't even know if it's confirmed, but on IMDb they say that like it is Sally Field, like Forrest's mom, the actress, dressed up as like a male reporter, like running beside him. I don't know why they would do that or if they did that, but I don't know why that became a like rumor.
Interesting.
Yeah. I love the locations that they film and some of the shots they get. It's so beautiful.
I know they had like some amazing shots, and like when he comes back, talk about them later to Jenny.
Yes, all those shots are freaking amazing,
oh my gosh,
fantastic. And they said for those shots later that we were talking about now, there was not much enhancement besides like color grading. Like they didn't have to do any sky replacements or make it a sunset or something. Like they got a lot of that in the camera, and they really lucked out.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, now we're at the point where like he's still running, and there's like the little ads, or not ads, like the little people in between where they're talking about
it
like
happens.
Yeah. And
the smiley t-shirt.
Yep.
He ran for 3 years, he said, 2 months, 14 days, and 16 hours.
Yeah.
Wow. The road he stops on, it looks very similar to the road we drove on in Arizona. My dad and I on the road trip when we were coming back from California. And every time we came through like a road, like we were like, it's a Forrest Gump road. And it was just really cool seeing that.
Tom Hanks was here.
Yeah.
It's like some like random road in the middle of nowhere.
You see it like graffitied like on a rock. But he spelled it like the Hanks, like his Instagram. Hanx.
Tom Hanks. Thomas the Hanks.
The Hanks engine. Thomas the Hanks engine. Pumping along. Doo, 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 doo. All right. What are we doing? Jenny sent him a letter, we found out, and we're literally like back up to the present on the bench now. Apparently, the original screenplay, or like one of the early drafts or something, like it was supposed to all be on the bench, and it was supposed to end like everything had happened, and then everything was a flashback. But they wanted to get like a certain line with Jenny, and like they couldn't figure it out like with the narration and stuff, so they like changed it and shifted some stuff around, which I think worked well.
Yeah, I think it definitely was a good call to have. Like the way they set up where he was there for Jenny. I mean, obviously that'd make the most sense, right?
Yeah.
Like who else would he wait for?
Yeah, like why would he just be on a bench for that long?
Yeah.
Then he goes to see Jenny in her apartment. So her scrapbook that she opens up of like his like headlines of his run and stuff. The one headline said, "Go-Go Dancer says Forrest Gump made me his secret lover."
Yeah, I saw that there was the one response where it was like, I don't know her.
Yeah, I saw that too. Secret lover.
Oh my god.
Secret tunnel. I think that's also becoming a thing.
Secret tunnel's definitely becoming a thing.
Anyways, we're in the apartment. The way he looks at her, loves her with all of his heart, and she apologizes for what she's done to him. And then someone comes in the door.
It's the nanny with the little Bobby boy.
Haley Joel Osment, who's gone on to like be a really successful child actor, and this was one of the first films I think he was in. I think it might have been the first film he was in because the director saw him in a Pizza Hut commercial and liked him.
You look really good eating pizza.
You're now gonna be Tom Hanks's kid. Like that's a big step up.
Does Tom Hanks like pizza?
That's all I can really do.
That's the only field I know.
It's like he like asks like, "What are you watching?" Instead of saying Bert and Ernie, he's like, "Pizza! It's pizza time!" It's
pizza time. Pre-Spider-Man. Pizza time.
Yeah, because this was happened before Spider-Man came out. Oh man.
Now I want to watch Spider-Man.
We'll cover it eventually. Don't worry.
Yes. I also think it's cute here how they have like the head tilt. Before that, like
before that, we need to talk about before that.
Yeah, she tells
this
them.
Part.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Like even like his composure, like when he's told, and like
yeah.
all the love that you've seen.
The way he plays it.
Like when he's looking at Jenny and how that like shifts to him.
Yeah.
Oh
and well, he said that about actually no, this makes sense because before he even knew he had a kid, in like literally like 30 minutes on the bench 30 minutes ago, like on the bench, he says she was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And then he says that later, now that he knows he's a kid, it's the exact same thing he says about his kid. He's like, well, what do you think? And he says he's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Like, oh, that's a good callback.
Just starts hulking out because of the callback.
I combust like his leg braces.
I thought you were about to say like Lieutenant Dan's legs. I'm like, dude.
No. Wow, now you've brought it there.
I did.
But also, I absolutely love, my favorite line in this whole freaking film is when he like starts breaking down, and the first thing he asks is like, is he smart? And he's about to go like, or is he like me?
Yeah, like he couldn't even get it out
because he's so concerned, because he knows, like, that just shows this entire film, like, he knows he's different and he's not smart, and he does not want his kid to have to go through that. And that just such a pure heart for, that's literally the first thing he asks, like, oh my gosh, that, and everything leading up to that, like everyone calling him stupid throughout the whole film. Oh my gosh, this is where I tear up again.
I mean, it's Forrest's selflessness, you know?
Yeah.
Like, even if it's something that he can't change, you know, he's still going to want to help.
He doesn't want that upon anyone, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, then the head tilt thing. Jenny has a virus. She said she's sick. I think my mom was looking it up, and it's either, people theorize it's either HIV or AIDS or hepatitis C that she had. And then Forrest, in an instance, says that they can come live with him. Even though she's sick, he doesn't hesitate because he loves her.
Yeah. And then they get married, and then Lieutenant Dan comes back for the wedding.
Yes. Got his prosthetic legs.
Made out of titanium. Same stuff they use for a space shuttle.
Yeah. It's like kind of a parallel to Forrest's arc where like he couldn't walk and now he can walk again. He can use his legs again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And he's also got his fiance.
Yeah. Susan, I think. Yeah. It's a small ceremony. And I think it's funny in CinemaSins, I think I watched that, like, they make the only person that doesn't have legs stand in the wedding. But my excuse for that, like, because Lieutenant Dan is standing in the back, my excuse for that is maybe he doesn't want to sit because he's been sitting for so long, or like it takes him a while to get up and down. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like it might take you longer to get up and get down if you have a prosthetic like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like that'd make more sense.
There's also one shot before we get to like Jenny dying that like it's really subtle, but like they're walking down the oak alley towards the house, like under the trees, and there's like really fast moving shadows on the ground, and they're CG shadows, and it's to represent like kind of the passage of time. So they had a little bit of time together before, but like the people are like walking in real time, which is cool, but like they had a little bit of time before Jenny passes.
Yeah, it's still hard because like, you know, like she passes away and then Forrest is on his own again.
We get those shots like we were talking about with him reflecting on his adventures, like the sunset when he was running, or not the sunset when he was on the boat, or when he was running with the dusk, like twilightness. It was great. Then we get Forrest Jr. about to start school again, and Forrest is kind of recounting this to Jenny by her grave, which gives another, not excuse, but like way that like is realistic for Forrest to narrate again the ending because he's talking to her.
Yeah, so he sets up his son. He wants to tell him something, but then he ends up just saying, I love you.
Yeah.
I mean, they also talk about the Curious George book when the feather falls out.
Yeah, which tail ends the film. And also, well, again, I just wanted to highlight what we talked about, like when he's talking to Jenny at the grave there, he's talking about Lieutenant Dan versus his mama, like their theories on what destiny is.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Maybe it's something in between, like we don't have like a fully predestined thing, and maybe we have to kind of work with what we have, but it's like something in between that, which I think that's huge because he like thinks that thought for himself based on the experiences in his life that we saw him go through in this movie. Also, that bus driver aged very well.
Yeah, I was gonna say
bus driver.
if bus driving allows you to like age that well, maybe we should like pick up bus driving.
Yeah, maybe it's a secret.
So yeah, that's pretty much that's it. You know, you get the feather flying out.
Except for the post-credit scene.
Post-credit scene.
It says Forrest will return in Avengers. No, I'm just kidding. There's no post-credit scene.
Just like imagine like there's like the army
just like running away from Thanos. I was running. What if he's like? What if it's like Thanos about to snap with Thor, but then like the Jenny ship just crashes into Thanos.
Like Doctor Strange stops doing the tornado thing to keep up the water, and the ship just like
yeah, just
like launches over.
He was building it up so like a tsunami with Jenny on because he has like a fleet of Jennies now. He just leads them in a charge against Thanos.
You go back to Infinity War when it's like the run scene with like Black Panther and Captain America, but then you have Forrest Gump just Jenny.
I would love to see that.
We need to do edits of these. That'd be great.
Yeah. So a few last minute things about this. So the director was actually like a little depressed, he said, when this film was done, because, and he says he kind of feels that way with when a lot of films are done, because you poured 2 years of work into this, and then for like a year after, like you are just completely done. Like it's out of your hands as soon as it's released. Like you spend every day for 2 years just working on it, and then once it's released, like that's all you can do. I think that was just an interesting perspective that I haven't really heard before.
Yeah, but it makes like I can understand that.
Yeah.
It's almost like how how you feel. I'm sorry if you feel this like with the videos and stuff you edit, but I know I feel it sometimes.
Do like art projects
on a smaller, like on a smaller scale with the art projects, because like you're done with it and you're like, okay.
Again, check out Daniel's Sketchfab, linked below.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like you got to move on to like the next thing, you know.
Yeah, I feel that way with I used to with videos. I don't too much anymore because I make a lot, but I don't know. I still like love and care for all of them, but I also don't know if I'm pouring as much like time into each one. Like I don't spend 2 years on like like I feel that way for like the short films I make because I make a lot less of those and I put a lot more time into those. Yeah. So like we were talking about earlier with the sequel, the author wrote a sequel novel called Gump and Co. after, and it was like really meta. Like the movie was released and Forrest Gump watched it, and then he met Tom Hanks, the actor in the novel, and they were gonna adapt it into. Well, Tom Hanks didn't like doing sequels up until like Toy Story 2, and then he realized like these can be good films on their own kind of thing. So then they were actually going to do a sequel, but then 9/11 happened, and that really changed kind of the world, and this film didn't feel appropriate, like just some of the themes and stuff the way it would have pre 9/11. Another interesting thing, Tom Hanks was paid in points, so basically he got a percentage of the film gross, so he didn't get like a salary, but because his film did so well, he ended up getting like $40 to $60 million for it.
Jeez.
That's a lot of money.
Dude, imagine, oh my god.
I can't. I literally cannot.
Like, I'd be set, dude. Honestly, Pop-Tarts, Pringles, and just gaming with the bros.
Oh, I thought you said Gatorade with the bros.
No.
I was like,
no,
okay.
Because like that's not like my art stuff I'd work on, you know. But like if I was like, make that kind of money,
just like doing passion projects.
Oh my goodness.
That's why I'm trying to build this up to something that, because I love doing this. I don't know if you love doing it. I try to drag you along.
No, dude, I love doing this.
All right, I'm very happy to hear that.
What? You're not happy?
What? No, I said I'm happy to hear that.
Oh, I thought you said I'm not very happy to hear that. I'm like,
no.
Why?
What were you saying?
No, because it's like this would be like one of the passion projects I would do stuff, you know, because like it gives us a way to connect and still do stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
But
yeah, that's why I'm trying to like. I feel bad sometimes for plugging the Audible stuff, but like I feel like it is a very good thing. I'm gonna talk about that briefly here, but like I do think the Audible books, and actually I checked, and the original Forrest Gump novel is on the Audible site. So if you do want to learn about that source material, because it is very different than the film, then you can use our link and sign up, and you get a free book. It's all free to you. So if you want that, and there's tons of other books, it's really good. We've had a couple people sign up. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that was Forrest Gump.
Any other notes or anything, Jake?
No, that was all I had for Forrest Gump. Anything you else want to talk about for Forrest Gump? I have another thing I want to talk about, but I want to make sure we covered Forrest Gump completely.
I think I'm good for Gump.
Good for Gump. All right. Well, another thing I want to talk about, we have those mugs for sale still. Did I say like $15, I think?
Yep.
Whatever I said last time. I think it's $15. If you are interested in that, reach out, DM me, Jake Sar on Instagram. Like 5 left. So yeah.
Do it, please.
Also, I wanted to read another review. We got another review from Marg Stroh. Mrs. Strohecker, thank you. She said, Jake and Dan enjoyed listening to one of your earlier running podcasts and hearing about your days running at Redland, and Coach Kell. Love the mug too. So bam, she even likes the mug. Thank you. If you want one, you can buy one. So that is all I had for today's episode. Anything else you wanted to add before we go head home?
If you haven't seen Forrest Gump, do you live under a rock?
You should see it. Even if you haven't seen it in a while, it's good.
Yeah, you need to rewatch it. I'm telling you right now, you need to rewatch it.
Yeah.
If you do live under a rock, please
get out.
Tell us how you survive that way. I didn't know being Patrick Star was possible, but if you find a way, there's a will.
If you live under a rock and somehow found this podcast, props to you.
Yeah. Other than that, I hope everyone who's listening is doing good, and thank you again all for listening.
All right, Daniel, take us home.
We just talked about whatever we want to talk about, and now we're done. Blank.
Thank you so much for listening. Next time we are covering Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and then we have some other things in the works with some special guests. I'm not really sure if after that will be that special episode or if we will be going back to MCU Phase 2, but we will be getting back to MCU Phase 2
shortly.
Soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.